Dimas had always dreamed of escaping the city's chaos, so when he found a rundown house in a quiet village for half the usual price, he called it fate, not a warning. The house stood at the edge of a forgotten forest with chipped paint, moss-covered bricks, and windows that seemed to watch like tired eyes. He moved in with his wife, Eerie, and their 7-year-old daughter, Lila, thinking they had found peace. But peace is never found in a place where silence feels too alive. On their first night, Dimas was stirred from sleep by what sounded like a whisper, a soft hum, like someone humming an old lullaby beneath his window. Brushing it off as the wind, he tried to return to sleep, but his heart kept racing and something in him whispered, that wasn't the wind. The next morning, Eerie complained about footsteps above the bedroom, creaks and soft thuds, but they hadn't even unpacked enough to go upstairs yet. Curious, Dimas explored the attic, finding nothing but dust, cobwebs, and a locked trunk shoved into the corner as if the house itself was hiding it. He left it alone. But from that night onward, the whispers grew bolder, faint phrases, unclear voices murmuring through the floorboards. Lila began waking in the middle of the night, telling them about the lady in white who stood at her doorway, never entering, never blinking. Dimas tried to rationalize it all. Dreams, old pipes, creaky wood. But the fear in Lila's eyes was too real, too raw. That Sunday, an old man from the village dropped by bringing vegetables, but when he saw the house, his smile faded and he left in a hurry, dropping half the basket. Eerie picked up a strange photo in the attic, an old black and white image of a family, their faces scratched out, standing in front of what looked exactly like their house. That night, Dimas heard knocking, not at the door, but from inside the walls, steady and deliberate, like someone asking to be let out. When he pressed his ear against the cold plaster, a voice whispered, "Find the truth." Determined, Dimas returned to the locked trunk in the attic and broke it open, revealing old diaries, yellowed with age and stained with something brown. The diary belonged to a girl named Sari, who once lived in the house and spoke of a mother who went mad after losing a baby, and a father who vanished one winter night. Sari wrote of voices in the night, of being pulled toward the forest by dreams, and of a door that no one else could see. After reading it, Dimas started dreaming of the forest too, of a narrow path lit by lanterns, leading to a door embedded in a tree trunk. Eerie begged him to stop reading, saying the more he read, the colder the house felt, and the more Lila cried in her sleep. But Dimas couldn't stop. The story had hooked him, as if the house itself wanted to be heard, wanted him to finish what Sari started. One night, the whispers guided him to the basement, where he found a section of the wall that sounded hollow, newly sealed. He broke through it, revealing a hidden room with children's drawings on the walls and a single rocking chair that moved, ever so slightly, on its own. In the center was a small wooden box, and inside it a porcelain doll with eyes too lifelike and a note. She never wanted to be alone. The next day, Lila refused to enter her room, saying the lady in white now sat in her chair, brushing the doll's hair. Dimas buried the doll in the garden that night, thinking it would end everything, but the voices screamed so loud he thought his head would split. Lila was found sleepwalking the next morning, standing at the edge of the forest, eyes open but unaware. Desperate, Dimas contacted a local historian who revealed the house's dark past. 5 children had gone missing decades ago, all living under that roof. The villagers believed the house was cursed, that something once trapped inside had been accidentally released after a ritual went wrong. Dimas wondered if it was Sari, the girl in the diary, or something worse, something that wore her face to lure others in. That night he followed the sound of humming into the woods and found the path from his dreams, real now, lit by flickering lanterns. He followed it to the tree with the door carved with strange symbols, and when he touched the handle, the air turned to ice. Inside was not a room but a memory, a recreation of the old house with shadows moving freely, watching him. He saw Sari there, crying in a corner, whispering, "She's not me. She's wearing me." Dimas ran, but the forest twisted behind him, trees shifting like guardians trying to trap him forever. He awoke in the basement, shaking, with dirt under his fingernails and the porcelain doll beside him again. The historian came the next day, warning that the house fed on grief, that it recreated trauma to sustain its hunger. Dimas realized they were being studied, watched, like puppets in a repeating performance for something ancient. That night the whispers formed clear words. Let us finish. Let us be heard. Dimas gathered the diaries, the photo, and the doll and planned to burn them, but fire wouldn't catch. It was as if the objects were protected. Lila started speaking in an old dialect, one she had never learned, reciting parts of the diary as if possessed. Irini tried to take Lila away, but the front door wouldn't open no matter how hard they tried. It was like the house had locked them in. The walls began to weep, literally, weeping black streaks that smelled of decay, and voices chanted louder with every passing hour. In a final act of desperation, Dimas confronted the attic again, standing where the trunk once was, yelling, "What do you want from us?" A cold wind burst through the attic and a figure appeared, Sari's form but with hollow eyes, and whispered, "To remember." Suddenly he understood. The house wanted someone to tell its story, to give voice to the forgotten, to carry the memory. He promised to write everything down, every horror, every truth, and as he did, the house began to exhale, a deep, groaning release. The doors unlocked, the weeping stopped, and for the first time in weeks, the house stood still. They left the next morning, leaving the keys under a stone, and Dimas kept his promise. He wrote the tale word by word, never leaving anything out. But sometimes in the middle of the night when he's alone at his desk, he still hears it. The lullaby, humming softly in the walls. And he knows the house isn't done, it's just waiting for the next listener.